So this is going to be your design challenge. And it's to take forward the vision of the Treflach Mandala garden, which was conceived as a nutrient density experiment. We talk about organic food. What we wanted to do was to try and create some data that actually proved that it's more nutritious. Um, we also been really interested in biochar for a long time, and we wanted to use biochar to develop the soil universe of the garden. And again, we'd like to understand these processes better. So the inspiration came from watching a presentation. I think is it the International Permaculture Convergence? Maybe it was the Oxford Real Farming Conference. Either way, it's January 21, and it was inspirational. And it was at a time, if you remember, we needed some inspiration, and it was a sort of fantastic. Yeah, I was inspired. So we wanted to take this to Trevlac and to take this soil building and food quality experiment to Trevlak Farm. Um, we had a PDC there in April 2021, and the goals, and we fed this vision to the group to the as a design challenge, and there was already the beginnings of the field garden, and obviously what we did needed to integrate with that. We wanted to look really good. We wanted it be some way emblematic for Trevlak Farm. Obviously, to sit within the CIC part of the farm to contribute to their social and educational goals. Um, the garden needed to utilize on-farm resources. We didn't have a budget. We didn't have money to spend on it, but we could see all around us sticks and stones and pigs and chickens and compost and what have you, things that we felt that we could use to build the garden out of. And we wanted to research and demonstrate our regenerative growing strategies utilizing minimum tillage, the use of biochar, full organic methodology, and whilst testing for nutrient density to actually measure the differences. We wanted to sort of, as you can see, the farm has excellent visitor sort of reception area now, and that very much was evolving at the time. We wanted to contribute to that, and we wanted to minimize. We didn't want to create any extra pressure onto other areas of the farm, so that was also a key consideration for us. Um, so the beginning of the design, we had the concept of the mandala, we had a sense of where we wanted it to go. We also wanted to introduce willow to the farm as well, and I pitched these ideas to Ian at around that time. And again, this was sort of the beginning of how this idea came into being. Um, a quick survey of the site, you can see areas of the farm that are yet to be sort of developed and fully utilized. Especially this area sort of below this big barn, and the sheds, which were very run down and sort of full of old tractor parts, and slowly they were being brought into the sort of the mix for the farm. And there was the aspiration to take this whole area forward and to make it like a signature um, aspect of the farm. People could come and associate the farm with what they see. This is just by the car park, right? So this is what people see when they come. All sorts of materials available, and off we go. We fenced off to define the area. Um, it was just pasture. It had been pasture, I don't know, since the beginning of time, as far as I know. Um, a long way away from being a garden. Um, we thought about how we were going to sit together with what was there already. You know, how materials, vehicles, people might flow around the area, and this was the bit about the nutrient density. Okay, so you can see one carrot in the supermarket and your organic carrot that you've grown. What really is the difference between them? We say growing organic is better for the environment, stuff like that, uses less toxic inputs or no toxic inputs. But can you actually tell the difference in the carrot? And we'd come across the Griffin Network, Growing Real Food for Nutrition, and they had a whole methodology where they explained, and they made us really understand that the nutrients that the plants need are in the soil. Nearly all of the time, everything the plant needs is in the soil, but they're not necessarily available. The plants don't sort of suck nutrients out of the soil. What they do is they build relationships with the soil microfauna and microbiology, um, and exchange sugars, which they give off as exudates off their roots, um, into the mycorrhizal fungal network, which again feeds into and interacts with all the other soil microbial activities. It's this that translates nutrients that are in the soil to make them available to the plants. Um, Hedge cuttings. They've been laying the hedges at Treflach. They do this sequentially over the winter, section by section each year. It generates a lot of brash material. I was always been really interested in biochar, and this gave us a feedstock to start making our first big batches of biochar. And the other element that Griffin brought us was the idea of using this refractometer to test the amount of dissolved sugars in the sap of the plants, and this actually gives us a scale. Um, we can actually measure the percentage of sugars and make comparisons between one plant and another. And so we started to collect data of the plants that we grew in the first season or two, and we wonder when we get now a year 5 whether we can start actually making an observable difference. Um, what we're constantly learning, of course, is there's so many variables. It's very hard to control them all, and to actually prove the point that you want to prove. But this is, it's an ongoing thing that we're engaged in the garden. Um, so yes, we've utilized the abundance of narrow diameter wood that's lying around on the farm, and we pyrolized it and set our project in motion. If you can't help you visualize the microbial life in the soil, which translates into the quality of our food. Um, we wanted to team up with the pigs. We imagined, sort of thought about their sort of ploughing and turning abilities. They put them into the area, um, and apparently they got bored very quickly. They made a hell of a mess and left us with a thing that looked like the Somme. They did not um, what's the word? Methodically remove every um, a grass root, and it quickly turned into a mesh of weeds. So it wasn't a very effective soil clearance strategy, but it got us going. And we started with some of the willow because it's a very windswept, quite exposed spot. And slowly, the shape of the garden started to emerge. A sort of random series of photos as the garden has evolved. Um, I don't claim to be the world's greatest gardener or vegetable grower. I'm learning, so it's been one of the outputs of the process. Um, what we found was a couple of years in was coming 1 day a week, which is all we were doing, wasn't quite enough. And I think at the end of the second year, but by the time we came back to the beginning of the third year, the garden pretty much turned back to field again. So we had to sort of redouble our efforts to pick that up. 2 days a week is kind of a minimum. You can see now the shop unit is in place, and other elements are starting to fall into place now, and the shape gets stronger and stronger. Still pretty exposed, but we've now got a much stronger idea of what we're doing. And it's also a really good example of design by incremental design, little steps. We had a basic idea, we started it off, and then slowly, the design ideas got stronger, and as we reinforce the patterns. So yeah, a few more step changes as the garden has evolved. All the time we're trying to using mulches, green manures to keep the soil either filled with living plants or with dead plants or covered with dead plants. I haven't always managed to it. We've always been time constrained, and the amount of volunteers has sort of ebbed and flowed. Um, but each each little bit has felt like each season has felt like a bit more progress, and the pattern has become more established. By 2024, it suddenly started to click into place. And again, it's this idea of, yeah, once you've established a pattern and you keep building on it, it's amazing how it kind of snowballs. So by the summer of 24, the field garden, the Mandala garden sections were really starting to come into place. And we'd also evolved a management strategy with the farm about mowing and other kinds of management things which have helped us maintain consistency over time. Um, yeah, so the summer in 24, we designed to put in our biochar kiln. We wanted to be able to sort of demonstrate and do make small batches ourselves, and it was a lot of fun designing and building that. And again, it helped continually sort of reinforce the shape and the garden and the sort of patterning. And each season, the soils have definitely come more and more alive, and we can visibly see the number of earthworms and everything, all the other activity that's happening in the soil. Um, so we get to January 25, and things are starting to really drop into place. Um, and I think there's a greater commitment from ourselves, from other areas of the farm, from Stephanie, from and now Josh being part of the team. Has really kind of strengthened it. And so it's been really fun now, and to start to think about it with more sort of dedicated, more with a more focused way. And this is when we went, and now we took these photos as part of our bid to Space Hive, which was a kind of a crowdfunding thing we did in partnership with Shropshire County Council, helped raise, I don't know, 16 grand or something like that, which then has allowed us then to put in to design and implement a watering system and the pond, polytunnel, which we're planning, and ultimately we'd like to have a low impact structure, sort of roundhouse as well. Um, so here we are, summer of 26. We had another little PDC camp last summer where we advanced our ideas a bit more, and it was a very, very useful platform to discuss things with the farm and just to sort of yeah help evolve our ideas. Um, so here's me contemplating where do we go next? We had a great session in March with some of our regular volunteers and putting in the lining of the pond, and again that felt like another sort of step forward for the whole project. So over to you guys. This is what I want you to think about is help us plan the garden over the next 24 months. This is what your design challenge is going to be. You're going to start with a survey. Permaculture always starts with observation. Help us take stock of what we've done so far. Look at the garden, but look at the people. Ask us, find out as much as you can. Help us plan, understand our developments that we are planning both for landscape and for structures. That's the polytunnel, the roundhouse. But also, I'm going to put you into two different teams where one team really looks at the physical structures and the other looks at the non-physical structures, the people, the team building, recruitment, events, communications. Um, there's two different sides to this, isn't there? And make sure everything that we do has to be planned closely along with other on-farm activities. We don't want to get in the way of other things or put demands on other areas of the farm unnecessarily. And we're already planning future courses. We'd love to have more volunteering things, more kinds of events. Help us plan and visualize what these might be and when they might be, and you know, help us take the whole plan forward. So this is your chance to do your client interviews. This process is going to start with your client interviews. You're gonna ask us um, what our goals are, what resources we have, try and discover limitations, time, resources, things like that. um, and help us develop a clear, coherent vision going forward for the Mandala Garden. And I hope this will be a really fun, interactive process. Thank you very much for